السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام, brother.
Dr. Suhail, he will join us in a few minutes. If somebody has any question for Dr. Suhail, we can start right now. And if you have any comments, Jalal or Yusuf or Ahmad.
Well, we are in a new environment after November 5, and that's probably more of a discussion issue, both internationally and nationally.
Okay, you can ask, Brother Jalal, start, okay?
I don't know if that pleases Dr. Ghanouchi.
It's okay. Just ask him.
All right.
Okay. He's with us right now. When he says Salam Alaikum, go ahead and ask him the question, okay? Jazakallah khair, Brother Jalal.
Right.
Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Suhail.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Brother Jalal, he has a question for you.
Well,
or comments. I mean, yeah.
Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Ghanouchi.
Alaikum salam. Why it's
we are seeing your picture.
Oh yeah. Now the sound was low. Go ahead.
I missed the lecture last Sunday, and after the November 5 elections, obviously new environment, or at least somewhat new, both nationally and internationally. And I was wondering if that would be a topic of discussion, although the lectures are about other things, but it does involve us socially also.
Yeah, can you be more specific, more clear? What's the question?
You are asking me another question, which is very much in order, and I don't know how to better phrase. How to better phrase remarks about what we could expect as a community, and what obligations to think of given a new phase of 4 years, next 4 years.
Okay. Are you talking mainly about our community here?
And globally, maybe.
Okay.
The Islamic community globally.
Now, I don't know. I mean, it's not the first time that you have this transition from between the two major parties. So it happened before. On one hand, yes, Trump is not a typical Republican president. But at the end of the day, this is not a kingdom. I mean, this is a country that has institutions, and we have seen recently that what does it mean when he picked someone and then he had to withdraw. Why? Because it's not a kingdom. It's not like one-man power. It's not an absolute power. So we need to keep that in mind, that people can say whatever they want and in campaigns, and they can have all the intention in the world. But at the end of the day, this country will always remain somewhere in the middle, and will reject or oppose any extremism in any direction. So that's in general. Again, he's not a typical Republican president. Everybody says that he's not very predictable. But I think even his own party will not let him go very far, because they don't want to pay the price for that afterwards. He has only one term to serve, and they don't want him to do anything that will. So he will be restrained a lot by his party and by the various institutions in this country, in addition to civil societies. I mean, already a lot of civil rights groups and human rights groups already are bracing for a fight in case he comes close to some basic liberties or freedom. So we shouldn't really exaggerate in terms of what to expect. On the other hand, we need to stop thinking in terms of in this passive way of always thinking about what to expect, what is going to happen to us, what other people are going to do to us, because this is not leading anywhere. This is not the proper attitude. People should be proactive and should ask themselves, what is our agenda? And how we can push that agenda regardless of the elections, regardless of who wins or who loses. People who want to be civically engaged in an effective way, they should have an agenda. And in that agenda or platform, they keep pushing it regardless. They keep pushing it with those who are in charge and even with those who are in the opposition. I think that's probably a better way of thinking about what is it that we want and how we can push for it, and not waiting for what's going to happen to us. That's over here. I mean, and the equation is not very complicated. I mean, if you are a community that is very open, very connected, and we build the coalitions and alliances, and we participate in mainstream issues, that's the way. That's the way. But if we're going to continue to be largely isolated, involved in occasionally in politics during the election, or when we have an issue, when we have a Muslim issue, and then go home after that, that's not going to help us. Because if you really don't work hand in hand with other groups on common issues, when you call on them to work on your issue, they're not going to respond because you were not there before. As Brother Mahdi, may Allah shower him with his mercy, used to say, Mahdi Bray, you cannot be the last one on the table and the first one to eat. We need to change our way of thinking about civic engagement, making it more mainstream, which means that not only involved in issues that affect us directly, but involved in any issue that affects the society, whether it is environment, whether it is economic, whatever. It doesn't have to be a Muslim issue, quote unquote. That's number one. Number two, to be consistent and not sporadically, not seasonal activism. No, day in, day out. You want to be civically engaged in this country, and you need to join organizations, be on the boards of some organizations, and work on these. That's how you build that connection, and that's how you root yourself. And then learn how to build coalitions, because nothing can be pushed in this country without a coalition. Sometimes we may join a coalition that is already there, and sometimes we may initiate or lead a coalition. But no single group can push anything in this country except by building coalitions. Actually, even the election itself, Trump would not have won the election without building a broad coalition. If he relied only on his typical followers, he wouldn't have won the election, but he managed to go out and attract people who are usually not attracted to Republicans. So that's for us here. For the Muslim world, it's I don't know. There isn't much to say. No, we still don't have a seat on the table, majority at least. there are a few Muslim countries who have some agenda and they have some influence and they are pushing and shoving, but majority of Muslim countries, they are on the table, they are on the menu. So waiting for things to happen to them, and they don't have any leverage. They are governed by corrupt rulers and regimes, dictatorial, corrupt, weak societies, weak economies, weak education system, weak everything. And they are at their lowest point. You can, and they're gonna have to just wait and see what is gonna be planned for them, and they're gonna be waiting until they watch those plans being executed. There are some indications that the new administration want to impose, not achieve, some sort of peace in the region, in the Middle East. What kind of peace, what kind of deals, nobody knows. People can only guess. But it seems that there is a change. It's not because of Trump. I mean, this is even being coordinated between the two administrations. There are some solid American policies that even if the Democrat had won, probably they will go for that. They will go for those policies. There is some plan for the region. We can see some indications for it. But it's only guessing at this point. There isn't any solid information. There are some indication that all these militia and different Arab countries especially, they're going to be either finished or eliminated or reduced. There are some indication that Iran may compromise on those and strike a deal to avoid the very severe sanctions, even more severe than the current ones, and maybe to normalize its situation in the world and start having normal relationship, normal trade relationships, etc. Russia, China, Turkey, but all indications say that there is something cooking. There is some new map or new scheme or new design is being cooked and probably being implemented, not even cooked, or finalized at least. A lot of talks under the table and deals being prepared or negotiated. But again, a majority of Muslim countries, and especially all Arab countries, they are on the menu. They are on the table, and they are helpless, unfortunately, because these are not truly independent countries. They don't own they don't make their own decisions, and they have regimes that they just want to survive, and for that they're willing to do anything and compromise anything. So that's overall, but anybody who will tell you exactly specifics of what, but the only thing that it seems for sure is that something big is cooking. And it's not because of Trump or anything. It was probably a year in the making, if not more. Because these people, they don't plan day to day. They're not like us. They're in firefighting, waiting for things to happen and react. These are a lot of strategic planning and a lot of planning and revising plans and etc. So I don't know when this plan was being developed or was developed, and since what time it started to be executed.
Jazakallah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Another question, please. Completely different. Dr. Safi was talking about an international conference of Iqra. Do you have more information? I think he was talking something about November, December timeframe. Do you have more information about that?
No, that's brother Dr. Ghasafi, and he's. I'm not sure if he. I don't think he's with us.
Okay.
Any other questions?
No, I agree with you, Dr. Sohail. I don't think you will see big changes with the Trump. The power in the president's hand is very limited in this country. And as you say, we see right now, he will lose the support from the Republican Party if he try to go extreme.
Both the Republican and the institution in this country will limit
his power, you know.
And
But
not
why
only
that?
Trump, it will limit any president who push too much to the left or to the right. This country, institutions, parties, and the people, they don't like extreme views, left or right.
But why, when we listen to the Arab TV station, you think it's the American election, you think it's Arab election? They stopped everything 24/7, just talk about American election. Right now, they stopped everything. They are just talking about Trump and his effect, you know.
The Arab and Muslim media is mostly becomes like a drug. And it's basically meant to keep people busy. So if there is no issue, they can create an issue. And they're succeeding. Lots of Arabs, I don't remember exactly, but I just recently heard how many hours on the average they spend on the news between the TV, satellite TV, and between social media. But it was really shocking. I don't know, 5-6 hours. It's, I mean, I got 2 statistics last week. One was very shameful about how much time Arabs or Muslim, I don't remember, spend on reading and how much they read a year on the average compared to other countries. And then this, on the average, how much time they spend on politics. That tells you the whole story. So they can create an issue out of nothing. They can create victory out of nothing just to keep people happy and to keep people busy. Because they are catering to the crowd. They know that Muslims have confirmation bias, that Muslims are ready to be deceived. Just tell me something that is good, that makes me comfortable, even if it is not true. I'm fine. But don't tell me the reality or the truth if it is brutal. That's how we think. And that's why we have that confirmation bias. I go only to places that tell me what I like to hear. I don't read. I don't want to watch any channel that tells me something else. I just want to hang out with my people on social media, and we talk the same language, and we share the same information, and it goes viral, and you think that's the truth, but it is just because it's circulated among a small group, organized group. So I don't blame them. They are competing for the audience, and to keep the audience attached to you, you have to make so the American election becomes really an Arab issues or a Muslim issues, and people, if they don't do that, how can they get the attention of people, and how can they get the audience and the viewers? So yeah, I don't blame them. I mean, when you have channels that are 24 hours news, how can they fill it? Well, sometimes there is no news on the world yet. But you have to keep the, I mean, to fill the time, slots. And I feel sad, wallahi. I feel sad for those who are watching those talk shows and political shows and analysis. Say, oh, I like these analysis, I like those analysis, I like this, the news of channel, switch to the other one. What are you doing? You're wasting your time. They are stealing your time. And a long time ago, when I stopped, really, I know that you're not going to miss anything. As long you know the big headlines, you're not totally outdated, or as long you know the main things that are happening. And I encourage everybody to do that, to reduce the time you spend on these things, because they are a waste of time. All politics among Muslims is about description and complaint. There is no substance. Now we sit down for hours describing what's going on and complaining and blaming. And that seems that it's making us feel good then. But people really have to wake up. I mean, people have to wake up, and they have to realize that politics is not like soccer. That can apply to soccer. You can sit down in talking hours about soccer, because at the end of the day, there is no implications. You can talk about the previous matches or games and the upcoming games. Fine. But if you do the same thing with politics, politics is deciding the destiny and the future of people and populations. It's much more serious than to approach it like we do with the sports, just talking. So people, unfortunately, they don't do it, and they don't want to listen. They don't want to listen to the truth or the facts if they are not convenient. And number two, they don't want to address the hard questions. Why this is happening to us, and what can we do about it? Any discussion that gets out of these two questions is laghu, is vain talk, is waste of time. Why this is happening, meaning getting to the root causes and asking ourselves, what is it that we can do about it, no matter how small it is, anything that we can do. Otherwise, we are just wasting our time. And politics nowadays, like religion, I mean, even religion became like opium for people. It has been religion like this. I mean, the version of Islam that was promoted under the dynasty rules, it's to soothe people, to make them more submissive to those regimes. And now politics has become an opium for people. Yeah. So Muslim populations they are segmented. Some they are busy with sports. MashaAllah, there are thousands and hundreds of thousands busy with their team. They travel with their team, and they keep watching, and they follow the news of their team and discussion and groups and etc. Have a segment that is into like drugs and alcohol and etc. You have a segment that is so busy to make ends meet, and that's all by design, not by coincidence. Good segment of the population are struggling just to keep things running. And then those who can overcome all of these traps, they created the political trap for them. They created those news outlets for them and the social media, etc., or the purposeless activism, shallow activism, which keeps you busy and keeps you feel good, but you may not be achieving anything or changing anything. So the segment that is not trapped by the struggle for living, survival, or by all these things, they created this for them. So either spend all your free time during the day, watching the news and following and discussing, etc., in coffee shops and in houses and on the social media, or be part of those organizations. They are active, you find. So you think of yourself, you're active, an activist, but you're not changing anything.
And would it be fair to say that in that disbursement of information, so much to the contrary is being spilled, that is misinformation and disinformation, that certainly sends you haywire everywhere?
It's mostly misinformation, especially the media in the Muslim world. It's everybody has the crowd they're catering to them, and they're telling them what they want to hear. So you find you watch a channel or a page or whatever, a source that will tell you things are so bleak, disaster, and then you turn to the other one and say so rosy. And you know that the truth is somewhere in between. None of this is right. And they mastered half truth. They show you only, they don't lie. They don't have to lie. They just show you half of the picture. So, and everybody shows the half they like. So nowadays you can find people living in the same house. One will tell you that in Gaza, where there is victory, big victory, and the other will tell you it's a disaster, depending on what you're watching. And then the same thing in Lebanon. There are people who say we are about to, the Lebanese resistance is about to crush the Israeli army, and there are others who say it's very close to Sur, yani. So you get them. It takes effort nowadays to get the facts, and definitely not from any Muslim outlets, any media in the Muslim world. They're not professional at all. They mix opinions and facts. They use half-truth in a very efficient way, and they are misleading people. Both sides. So it's, and people are lazy. They don't want, people have the confirmation bias. So I'm used to this channel. It is telling me the things that I like to hear. I'm going to keep up, continue with it. And people, they are lazy because getting the facts is difficult nowadays. It requires some effort to, because it became so easy to mislead people, and you can even fabricate things, and so deception became so easy with the technology nowadays. And of course, if they keep hammering you with the same news every day, you end up believing it.
I need to mention a small story, Dr. Suhail, just to see how the Arab thinks. In one of the WhatsApp group, they mentioned that Trump is from Syria originally, his grandfather. Okay, you laugh, it's joke, right? And they mentioned the last name for his family in Syria. And one college professor, he asked, is this a family, Christian family or Muslim family? And I asked him, are you joking or? And he told me, no, I am serious, If this college professor, he asked this question, what you are talking about the normal people, people without education.
They can, when they can spend days in that discussion. People are willing to spend so much time discussing an incident that happened long time ago in our history that has no implications, or even it is contemporary but has no implications. Trump, we can find that his deep roots goes to Medina. What? So what? Yeah. not Syria. His grand came from Mecca, migrated. What implication this will have? Like spending so much time proving that this president is a Jew. President of Libya or president of Egypt or whatever. What's the point? I mean, president, it's not about where the roots, it's probably what he's doing. So we are very easy to distract. Why? Because we don't have a mission and we don't have a vision or an agenda. And that's why the news can drive us in any direction. They can make a very minor issue can become big. Why? Because as I mentioned in khutbah several times, we don't have a reference, we don't have a scale to see how important this is, how much of my time it is worth to put in it, and in which direction should I go. And if you realize that there is something is a distraction, means you just have to get it out of the way and don't spend a minute in it on that issue. But when you don't have that, I think I can use the analogy of, people when they have no immunity, like they take immune suppressant, they become so vulnerable. Anything can cause them to be sick. Yeah. I think we don't have that immunity. So we can be distracted easily and deceived easily. Especially that we are emotional and we like to hear what we want to hear. We don't like we are not after the truth. Tell me that we are winning even if we are losing. That makes me feel good. But don't tell me the reality if it is ugly or brutal. And especially if it's going to require me to do something. Because I love to be passively watching. That's laziness. But if you start asking the question of what can you do or what are you doing about it, that's going to become responsibility, and that's tough. And that's the mindset that has to be changed completely. That to have people who are mission driven, they have a purpose in life, they have a clear set of priorities, they know how to budget their time, and they will not allow anybody to steal a minute from their precious time, because there is no time to waste in this life. There is absolutely no time to waste. And you can only feel sad when you see scores of young people in all Muslim countries wake up in the morning having nothing to do, especially those who are unemployed, and even those who are employed, but especially those who are unemployed, and spending hours and hours sitting in coffee shops doing nothing. And when you ask them, they say, we're killing the time. They just don't realize that killing the time is meaning committing suicide, because you are basically, at the end of the day, you are a number of hours. You have a number of hours to live in this life. If you start killing those, you're killing yourself. So it's a whole mindset that has to be changed. When people, they start to be mission driven, they have a clear set of priority, clear direction and sense of purpose in life. They will start thinking objectively and critically, not this bias that if this person is from my group, then everything they do is good. If this person is from the other group, then that's a tribal, very primitive and very childish behavior, that things are, I like it, I don't like it. That's people who don't even reach maturity and have no wisdom. Wisdom requires to be objectively thinking. Always go after the truth regardless, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, كونوا قوامين بالقسط شهداء لله ولو على أنفسكم أو الوالدين والأقربين ولا يجرمنكم شنآن قوم على ألا تعدلوا. It's clear Quran that you have to have that objective thinking, you have to have that critical thinking. You tell me something, why? Prove it to me, convince me. There is no such thing that take it because I'm a scholar or I'm this or I'm that. No. You need that mindset of citizenship, not subjects. People who believe that they have rights that nobody can take from them, and that whatever the government is doing to you, that's not favor. These are your rights because these are public servants. So much need to be changed. The minds have to be rewired because they were messed up over the centuries with very distorted version of Islam and with a lot of oppression and stagnation that mutilated the Muslim mind and the Muslim personality. And we think by getting people to pray and fast and women wear hijab and people start reading Quran, we're going to fix that damage. No, we're not going to fix the damage. You're going to just cover it. You're going to put a layer, or you're going to close a wound, but without cleaning it, without cleansing it.
Also, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I don't know, sister. Maybe Dr. Suhail will make it short and say, "Hey, Mohammed, you're not making sense." But I'm gonna try to ask my question. I'm not gonna try to ask my hard question. I think it's hard. It's hard for me. I have asked you this before, but I'm gonna ask it again in a different way. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and the Muslims not to pray towards Mecca when was evil idols in the Kaaba. And he asked them to pray towards Jerusalem. Previously, and in other words, there was some muftis and some people who came up with a fatwa to go for jihad in Syria, to go for jihad in Afghanistan. So my question is two-sided. First of all, is like why we don't have Muslims or a Muslim fatwa to say that enough is enough, and is this because we are corrupt? It's like what's the religion? What's our muftis and our religious representatives are doing if we rely on them for all of our fiqh and our fatwa? And my second thing, with all of what's happening in Saudi Arabia, and especially what happened and the news outside of Saudi Arabia in the last days, weeks, months, and probably years, because there is a lot of great people suffering in jail since this Mohammed bin Salman came in. So isn't it time also to transfer our Hajj somewhere else? Because, and I know that you're going to laugh, but isn't this like, there is idols in Mecca now, and there is idols in Saudi Arabia, and our money, our Muslim money. It's not my money because I still didn't go to Hajj. And I have other plans where I'm going to spend my money. And probably people in Gaza is better off spending it too. And that's another, it's like, this is another third side of the question. There is no even fatwa to say, there is no need for you to go to Hajj, and since there is Muslims suffering around the world, and that money, send it to them. Or why we don't walk, like I asked you before, why those Hajjaj don't walk to Syria or Afghanistan or anywhere in Iraq or now in Gaza or Palestine to say, hey, we need peace. I'm not asking anybody to hold weapons. With your Hajj clothes, just go walk across the border. How many armies gonna stop Hajjaj crossing the boundaries?
Okay, the last
but I really need somebody to think with me or say, hey, Mohammed, don't think like this, because this is
the last part is very hypothetical, because if you say that Hujjaj are going to do something like that or cross the border, that requires a level of organization and leadership that we are not even close to that. I mean, that requires discipline and leadership and organization that will say to hundreds of thousands of people to walk to Gaza and they're just calling for peace. I mean, people just to organize a few ships to go to Gaza to break the embargo was challenging. So the last, I mean, I'm not Mufti here to say about
15,000.
Let me finish. The fatwa of Hajj. No, we are not organized even at the local level, brother. We don't have We are not a jama'ah. We are not a movement. Even when we came here and we had the chance to organize without any interference from the government, because we keep complaining always and blaming governments in the Muslim world, they do not allow you to do that. But even when we came here, what level of organization we achieved? 2 mosques that are a couple of miles away, no coordination between them. They're completely isolated island in the same mosque. If the leader, they have to beg people to give money. They have no leverage whatsoever. They're just manager. That's how the people see them. They are managing the facility. Jazakumullahu khairan. Thank you. We've come on Jumu'ah, we find we find the masjid clean. And so thank you. But not anymore. Nothing more. Don't act as a leader because that's not how we deal with you. This is the mentality, I mean, so don't even think about that level. Now, fatwa for Hajj, I'm not a mufti, but comes down to everybody to decide for themselves. It's a very difficult issue, delicate, because that you're talking about Farida and people. You tell me about people who are going to make second Hajj and third Hajj, that's easy. That's very easy. If you did the Fard once, please put your money somewhere else. There is no point in keep doing Hajj just because you can afford it. But for the first Hajj, for the Fard, it's hard. It requires people to wait because you're touching about Farida. I mean, it's like prayer. Yeah. So I'm not in a position to say something about that, even though I understand where you're coming from. But definitely, if you did Hajj once, those who are keep repeating it, there is no point. Give it to, there are so many people who are in need in this world, in lacking basic needs. That's for Hajj. For the ulama, and we have a difficult situations because over the centuries, most of our ulama are ulama sultan. They are scholars of the king. And therefore, they can issue fatwa a la carte, customized. Whatever they want, whatever they're asked to do, they do it. And those who deviate, they usually had hard time. Those who insist on independence, and I mentioned before, including the 4 leaders of madhab, all 4 suffered persecution, and because they dared to be independent or to say no. So unfortunately, that's continuing. And by the way, nowadays, if you have a scholar, and not only a scholar, by the way, it applies also to journalists, applies to politicians. If you have someone who is raising star, if you will, rising or whatever, someone who's quickly having credibility and influence, they will be approached by people to be bribed. And it is happening time and again. Because they can offer you so much money that it's very hard to say no. And money so that you can forget about your agenda and start doing their agenda. That applies to political parties, political leaders, journalists, scholars, whatever, da'iyah, anything. So that's why it's becoming very hard, because if you choose to continue on the right track, you will never gain ground or popularity. And then you will have the option either to be attacked, and if you become successful, either to be bribed or to be attacked, to be marginalized. This power thing is not easy. It's not a joke. People are not playing games. Yeah. So unfortunately, that's what we have. And even those who are independent, they're not very capable, because the moment you reduce the amount of ijtihad or the scope, so what is left in? Because Real ijtihad is what? Real ijtihad, it's not to go and issue another book about tahara or about wudu or about fiqh al-salah. That's not the real ijtihad. Real ijtihad is how can we fulfill the mission of Islam and achieve the maqasid, the ultimate purposes of Islam in our time. And nobody is coming close to that. So people are just reiterating and then catering to the crowd. That's why you have the most popular shuyukh are the ones who telling people what they want to hear. They are entertainers. They're not true leaders or true reformers. They're entertainers, and people, that's what they want to hear. It's like, you know, you watch the news that tell you what you want to hear, and you listen to the sheikh that will tell you what you want to hear. It's very unfortunate. Yeah.
Go ahead, Sister Suraya, with your question.
Yeah, Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
It's not that a question, but I notice always when we talk about the matter of what we can do, and the situation here in the United States and the government and foreign affairs, people always talk about the hypothetical and about the thing that we can control. They would tend to forget that we have to think about the thing that we have control over. I heard Salah we always talk about how we are going to be responsible and accountable locally. Because when we are responsible and accountable locally, and we have a say on everything that we affect our life daily, the change starts from within, starts locally and then goes nationally, you know, through United States, and then will affect the foreign affairs. But we always are responsible to change things here locally. Like he said, two mosques near each other, they don't communicate. What we can do about that? We have to think about what I can do to solve an issue. And that's why I came across the organizing, and I keep over and over again that people, like, everybody have different, you know, like, skill in life that the other person doesn't have. How I can allocate this skill, how I can use it. There is ways here to get involved, from getting involved to in your children's schools as a PTA, as a parent, to school board. You know, you have a say in what your children getting educated. You have a say in everything. We were able to have Eid as a holiday in school because we were involved. Yeah, if you want to be involved in what's happening in Fairfax, for instance, if you live in Fairfax, then be active in local grassroots organization. When we have that grassroots organization in every state, they have a local grassroots organization. In Virginia, it happens to be Virginian Organized Interfaith Community Engagement, which is, we talk about everything, every single thing that affects us as a people of faith, interfaith. We talk to Christian, Jewish, and Muslim, and we actually organize together about how we can change the local rules and regulations here to fit us all as people of faith, as people who, you know, have God in our life. And that's actually works very good. It changes a lot of things. So there is choices, that things that we can do, and that's how we need to think about. We cannot just keep hyper-focusing on things that are out of our control and forget that if everybody did the responsibility, then change comes. Allah does not change the status of people unless they change the status within themselves. So instead of me having an anxiety, worrying about things that I don't have control of, I have to start doing things that I have control of. I have to be in you know, like, involved in my local mosque, my kids' school, my school, if I'm, you know, younger students, in my city, in my county, in my grassroots organizing, whatever I choose. Everybody is passionate about something. Everybody's touched in their life in a different way, but they have a passion about something that they can work on and make a change on that thing. So this is the thing we need to focus on, despite losing power, because even, you know, Dr. Ghamisi mentioned, like, even if there, you know, we had this, you know, we had them for 4 years, the Democratic. What did they do? They are the people who were fueling, you know, the war in Gaza and everywhere else. It's not only Gaza. My country, Sudan, is being destroyed totally. Yeah, so other countries too, other Muslim countries, Syria, Libya, Yemen, Iraq, all of the countries where we affected, but we understand that. But what we can do here locally, to make that change. And then, nationally, the change will happen. Because once we are involved as, what does it mean to be citizens? Citizens have to be actually understanding that, yes, the person in power is here to serve me, but I also have a responsibility of holding them accountable. How am I going to hold them accountable if I am not aware, if I'm not even as a citizen doing our job, being active, being well known about the local things happening in my community, I can go and be organized, put billion line and they're organized, because nobody will listen to one person. You have to be organized with a grassroots organization. You have to work as a community. Other than that, the people in power are not going to listen to you. They're not going to change the rules and regulations for your favor. Power talks to power. If I am a powerless person, choose to have no power, okay, stay in my comfort home, eat my daily meals, go to work, come back from work, have nothing to do with what's happening outside. It will affect me somehow. It will come back at me and affect me. So that's what I just want to mention. And thank you.
Jazakallah khair. I cannot agree more. Yeah. Just people. That's why I said people keep them busy with things they have no control, so that they don't focus on things where they can make a difference. So you're absolutely right.
Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Suhail.
Alaikum assalam. I think we're on. Go ahead, ask your question.
Yes. There's also this issue of the Bible studies curriculum that's going to be introduced to schools in some states like Texas, and maybe with time it will be all over the country. But my question is, there have been this kind of response from Muslims who claim that, since we are in a Western country, we should be open to accept these kinds of policies, that if you're not comfortable with it, then move out of the country and go to our Islamic Sharia law. Are these people just being ignorant of the laws here, or is it just refusing to take responsibilities? Or I don't really understand this thing.
I mean, I don't have enough information about this, but I think let's try to discuss this next time. And I need to find out what kind of policy, and so that they can give you better answer on what's the best way to deal with it.
Okay, thank you.
Jazakumullah khair. Will be no class next Sunday, Thanksgiving weekend. A lot of people out of town, and inshallah we see you the week after that. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum assalam.